And so what does the next few years look like? I know you mentioned about deployments and stuff, but is there anything, because if I do the maths right, this is looking to be late 90s, early 2000s, and 2001, obviously 9/11 happened. And, I was stationed out in Oman, within the army as an engineer. And so we were building a lot of camps for the SAS before they head over to Afghanistan. But does it start to ramp up then for you and the teams?
I had done 3 deployments in SEAL Team 2, and I was going to get out, but a guy that was going to take over the leadership of Bud's training in California, and I was living in Virginia Beach at the time, and I was going to get out because I had not been home for my family. And so he said, "Hey, why don't you come and be an instructor in SEAL training?" So I had checked in to be an instructor on September 9th, 2001. And 2 days later, the towers got hit.
Wow, yeah.
And so for the time period, for the next 3 years, I was just teaching or being an instructor, teaching young SEALs to get ready to go over to whatever war that was going to happen.
Wow, yeah. Did that feel kind of, you were getting the teams ready to go over there, but did you want to get over there yourself? Is that the kind of thought you had?
Yeah, the day it happened, the boss walked out and said, "Hey, you guys are here to teach, and nobody can go back to the teams that just got here." So all of us wanted to go, "Hey, forget it. Let's just go back and help." But he mandated that you can't go back for a year so that we can get the team supported. It was the greatest time to be an instructor because we knew we were training people to do at least what the training was telling them to do.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
And I'm guessing you were in the Buds part, was that correct? So
Buds, yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing 6 months, and then letting them or seeing them go to the next part and then doing another team.
Well, no, so I was in charge of, not in charge, but I was an instructor in the 3rd phase of training. And there's 3 phases in Bud's training.
Right.
And so we were just teaching land warfare, demolition, and shooting. And that was 2 months long. And then you'd get a week off and then start again. So all the new kids would come through your camp, so to speak, and you would just keep the basics of training moving forward. But it was 3 years of teaching the same thing every 2 months.
Okay. And so what does it look like after that? So you come into the end of your 3 years there, and you get back into the team and then you get to go out?
Yeah, then I picked up chief. So I had picked up a rank that I'd really wanted to be, and which makes you kind of the tactical guy in charge. And I got pulled into SEAL Team 7. And SEAL Team 7, I think I got there in end of 2004. And from 2004 until 2010, I did deployments as a chief at SEAL Team 7, which culminated in a deployment in Afghanistan in 2009.
Okay. Did you head over to Iraq or anything? Because I was over there.
Yeah, I was there twice in Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was there in 2004 and 2009. I think that's right. Yeah. So we might have crossed paths.
2004, possibly, maybe. I had gone there for a month to help some sniper things that were going on at the end of 2004. And hopefully I didn't scare you and shoot over your head or anything. Who knows?
Who knows? But in those years before you said about Afghanistan then, in 2009, is there any standout moments or anything you can share from your experiences?
I thought I'd had experiences of war. So from Bosnia and Kosovo and Macedonia, we'd been in some firefights, and you think you're cool because you survived a bunch of or some small firefights. And then my first experience in Iraq was because up until Iraq, so during Kosovo, we didn't really have night vision and we didn't have body armor, because the technology had not made its way into that level. And then, my first deployment to Iraq was body armor and hot and miserable conditions that you think you can train for, but it's very difficult to operate in. And then we did 72 combat engagements, it's very hard to operate at that level and not get injured. And my biggest recollection is, thank God I'd gone through Hell Week where you get no sleep, because I'd never felt like I was getting any sleep for 6 months.
Right.
Oddly, this weirdest reflection is how tired you are constantly in firefights.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, trying to be on top of your game for the whole time, right?
Yeah, and we did a lot of work with some SAS guys at the time in some cities that were in Iraq, and they said the same thing. They're like, "Man, this is getting tiring. Can we just take a couple of days off?" But we were looking for some individuals that we had to keep the pressure on them, and it was fun interacting with the Brits again, and because their attitude is so much better than ours.
Yeah, we do have good banter, so.
And it's so dry, I can never tell if it's a joke or not. And but we end up laughing most of the time, even when we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah, even now I have to rein myself back because I'm in the civilian environment, and I have to check myself. So you mentioned, was it Afghanistan in 2009? Did you mention that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 2009, I took a team or a platoon of 22 other guys solely to go into Afghanistan and kind of kill the Taliban threat that was in the central part in Helmand province. And we knew it was going to be bad. And my wife, Stacy, had asked me to write down some notes to my kids because she didn't think I was going to come home. And so I had written down a series of 13 lessons that I wanted my kids to learn in case I didn't come home as a dad. And the hard part about having a strong woman is she published it. She took it and got it edited, and she published it into a book. And it became an amazing journey to watch, to not only tell the story, but to watch people get some value from it.
Amazing. And what's that book called that she got published?
It's called Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life.
Okay.
I didn't choose the title, so everybody hacks on me for that. My title was Spartan Woman because I wanted my kids to know that strong women are the reason why men do well.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you could, I don't know, redo it with a different title, see what happens.
I gave up the copyright to a publishing house, so they own the copyrights. Yeah.
I mean, from that time, and I know being special forces, a lot of stuff is still secret, etc. But that sounded like quite a powerful and also important time in Afghanistan, Helmand province, and a lot of Brits were there as well.
Yes.
Is there a specific experience that you can share with the listeners that kind of was a big learning curve or something that you learned from that trip?
There's about 1 million experiences that were vital. One was probably the worst experience. I ended up getting one of our nation's highest awards for it. I call it not dying. I got the Silver Star, which is our third highest medal of valor for actions conducted in combat. And we had gotten overrun by the Taliban. There were 8 of us, and there was about 38 Taliban. And we'd run out of kind of food, water, and ammo. And I ended up having to drop a big bomb on our location. It ended up not killing us and killing the 38 Taliban that were within 100 yards of us. And I don't know if that's great tacticians, but I was never going to become a prisoner, and I was never going to let my men be captured. And so there's a lot of detail to that I didn't say. I'd gotten my helmet shot off. I got shot twice in the plate and several through my pants, and nothing ever touched my skin, which was not because of what I was doing well. It's either bad aiming or maybe there's a God, who knows. And it was a really tough experience to go through as the leader, is to kind of expend yourself and see your men not have any way to defend themselves.
Yeah. But, you got through it, and And how was the team after that? Did you all come together and?
Oh no, we didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So when we got not rescued, but when we got picked up the next day, we got authorization to take a week off, because that was a really tough recovery. Not only exhausting, but you had to think about all the things that you had done, and we'd been in a big firefight that led up to us running out of ammo. And so it was a very unique time to reflect as a man and as a husband and as a leader of, what are we doing here and how can we do it better? And it was tough to see the guys not really care about it anymore. But after 5 days, you shake it off. And we went and had some beer with the SBS guys, and they were laughing at us. And we kind of figured out that it's just the way that warriors got to deal with things, is laugh at each other. And they helped us recover.
Brilliant. And I guess it was more tasks and more jobs, right? After that.
Just now that you're better, it's more to do. So we had another 2.5 months of really detailed work to try to find some bad guys that were in central Afghanistan, and we did really well.
Yeah. And then I think you were in Iraq as well for a period. That was prior to Afghanistan, though, wasn't it?
It was 2005 through 9, a couple tours in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and the reason
Which I thought, or Iraq. Sorry, I thought Iraq was hard until I got to Afghanistan, and then I realized that Afghanistan is a whole different beast. And but Iraq was a tough time as well. But in hindsight, it wasn't even child's play.
Okay, yeah, because I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were also part of the SEALs team for. Did you call it the Battle of Ramadi? I think that was quite a big event that took place. Is that correct?
I was kind of helped that initiative. I wasn't deployed initially into it, but there were a lot of there was Ramadi and Fallujah and some other ones that were. Every combat is horrific. Some of them get names.
Yeah, and some of them stick as well. Yeah. But I know because you guys being up Baghdad area, and the Brits had Basra down the south. So between us, I feel we helped the nation. But yeah, you're right. Afghanistan was just a whole different ball game, really. Much more. I don't know, just full on.
Yeah, it was other than it being long, they were fighters, and I think they had been fighting their whole life. Yeah, and they fought really hard, and they fought well.
Yeah, and they know those mountains and hills more than anyone else can know, right? So
yeah, you had to be in really good shape in Afghanistan. You could kind of be heavy in Iraq, but in Afghanistan, you were walking places, and that made you a better operator.
Yeah. And then you can thank the, SBS from taking you up those big hills in the UK, right? All the way
there you
back.
go. But they didn't bring the rain over. They were supposed to bring the water. It didn't happen.
And so if my maths is correct, this is kind of coming to the end of your career. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So, what does that look like?
Well, so 2009, I came back from Afghanistan, and I immediately, either good or bad, they gave me command of our sniper program. So I took over our sniper program and led it for 2 years, and really enjoyed teaching what I had learned, and to watch kids graduate from being able to not shoot, or not being able to shoot really well, to being able to shoot precision shots at about 1,000 yards or meters. And then I had decided to get out at the end of that, and they asked me to take over our research and development department for 2 years, which is probably a good transition. Put the gun down a little bit, find out, about business and about yourself a little bit more than just being a SEAL. So I took 2 years kind of understanding research and development and the business world. And then Stacy and I and the kids retired and moved to South Carolina.
Okay. So it sounds like your transition was quite a good one.
Oh no, very, very hard.
Very hard.
Very hard. 23 years of doing something that you love to do, and then all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. Was difficult, and but that's when Stacy had published the first book, or at least had it published, and then I had to begin to tell the stories, and I thought myself a private man up until that point. But being able to relate the stories to people was very interesting, and learning how to do that in a good way kind of helped. And that helped design a business about teaching leaders how to lead when things are really tough. And that's what I've been doing for the past 8 years.
Okay. And so what is that? Is that a leadership company that others can ask for help, or is it for bigger companies?
We normally just don't, we consult a little bit, my partner and I, where we go into companies and help them redesign themselves. But we have a program. It's a two weekend program that individual leaders come to, which I think is a great venue, so they don't have to compete inside of their company. And we hold one a month, and we've been doing that for the past 2 years.
Okay. And how's it been during the crazy pandemic? Has you still been able to get people together, or has it been done virtually?
Well, so I don't believe to always follow what everybody else follows. So my partner and I decided to do illegal things, and what I mean by that, it was kind of illegal to have events. So we got churches and restaurants to allow us to use their space because most of them were shut down, and we had the biggest year ever, because nobody was willing to be brave in that space, and we were. And we had we trained a lot of men and women, and we made a lot of money.
Okay, and helped a lot of leaders out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah, because when you help a leader, you help everybody under them, and it's the weirdest thing about leadership is leaders need more help than they think they do. But when their life works, everybody's life works that they touch.
That's fair. So I just wanted to say thanks for all this. We've kind of briefly gone over your career, and 23-year career. There's probably a lot in there that we would love to hear, but I understand that we can't due to the job that you did.
I was answering the questions you asked. I can go into detail if it would be of value. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think is there probably at this moment anything that we've kind of briefly touched on? Is there anything story-wise, experience-wise that you feel others should know, should hear, to learn from it?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things that if I could pass on anything as a military leader is your ability as a leader to deal with yourself first, like lead yourself first, and then be gracious enough to help other people, no matter what branch of service that you're in. And literally that was taught by a guy taught to me in particular by a SBS guy named Gavin. And I wouldn't mention his last name, but I think that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And he was the greatest leader I've ever met. And he said, your ability to lead is your ability to graciously help other people. And I've used that skill set since Gavin told us that.
That's cool. And it's a strong name, right? Gavin. Hence my name. But it wasn't me. Just going to let everybody know that. So fantastic.
And great dude. So I think the greatest thing that happens in the world is, demonstrative men like that get together and help each other. It never feels like help. Like he was one of the hardest teachers that I've ever seen, even over a SEAL. And he was teaching us how to do something that is in an urban environment. And he was mean and ruthless, but he had some thought behind how aggressive he was. And it was very effective.
That's cool. That's good to hear. Well, I think we have come pretty much to the end.
Okay.
And typically at this time, what I'd ask the guests to do is, what advice have you got to people out there that are considering to join the military, or even potentially more specifically, like the special forces, like the SEALs?
One thing to consider is the British military has a longer history than ours in the United States. Ours is 200 plus years old. So what the military really is for everybody thinking about going in, it's a way to learn from people that are 200, 300, 400 years old. And it's passed down through experiences of leadership and teamwork and difficulty. And it's the only environment right now in the world that allows you to learn from others that have come before you. And I still think the military is one of the greatest things that you could do at some point in your life. Go in and learn from the people that have come before. And whether it's a short stint or it's a long retirement stint like I did, the military is always of value to anybody that goes in. And very few people go to war. It's very rare. Maybe 10% of the people in the military actually go to war and get shot at.
Yeah. Some good advice there. Thanks, Thom. And lastly, any advice that you've got for veterans, be that just about to become one or maybe have been out for a while?
Find something that scares you to do in your life, because the military and combat scared you and it made you a better human. When you're retired, don't get lazy and find things that are as challenging as the notion was when you came in the first place. So keep challenging yourself, even if you're hurt, even if you lost some fingers or toes or legs, stay challenged and your life will be better.
That's good advice. And I'm going to take that on board. So thanks very much for that.
Yes, sir.
And lastly, thank you so much for everything you've shared and the experiences that you've gone through. And also thank you for your time. We don't have an infinite amount of it, and you've given me some of that today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And lastly, thank you for your service.
Thanks for allowing me to be a part of this nation and to help you with your national security.
No problem at all. Thanks very much. This has been Military Veterans Podcast, out.